fucking something something, two's up something, right? That's how it will go.
That's what you're doing? Okay.
Well, yeah, right. That's what you need.
That's the official theme now, is it?
Yeah. Oh well. What the fuck do you want? What are we here for? What are we doing? A bit of spit went down the wrong way. There we go. Sorry.
Today we are going to be having a very heartbreaking conversation.
Okay.
When I've broke my heart over many a times, I knew probably about 40% of what's on this list I've wrote down.
Okay.
There
No,
was,
I'm aware of. I'm aware there was a conception of a list. I've seen teasers of your list. And
the things
you're
that
a psycho.
I knew of, I did send to you, so there's a massive possibility you forgot they exist. I'm going to say what the thing in the list is, and then we're going to discuss them.
Okay.
So, is there anything you would like to say? Anything you would like to say?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's a
I'm just
that's a
gonna
good
throw
start.
that out there. Just gonna manifest it. In fact, actually, the thing I'd like to say is that currently, what the fuck is happening with the pricing of games is a trend that shouldn't pick up, but it is. It's ridiculous. Nintendo fucking they really fucked us, quite frankly.
But you need
They
to
pushed
think
the
that
waters.
games haven't really been putting their prices up at all since basically coming out.
Yeah, and
So, like, a game back in what 2004 was probably around 50, £60, and it stayed like that right up until maybe 2017, 2018, and they went up maybe a five or a tenner. So it's not really kept in touch with the progression of pricing. So I'm not surprised it's gone up. I actually expected it to go up way more.
I think the fact, considering that everything's digital only these days, digital, and a lot of game CEOs and developers, or I should say not developers, but fucking purchasers, I don't know, game developer purchasers like EA, these big fucking massive tech
Publishers.
companies and all that shit. Publishers, that's the word. Thank you. Thank you. They, I forgot what I was going to say. Completely forgot what I was going to say. It's, what was I saying? Jesus Christ.
You were talking about publishers.
I've always talking about publishers and I couldn't remember the name of publishers. It's, increasing the price of games. I think that's what I was talking about.
Yep.
I can't remember. It was a fleeting thought about that. It was a fleeting thought I had about it. But now it's gone completely. Ah, yeah, that was it. The price of games. The price, you're completely right with the price of games not kind of increasing or changing, but digital releases of games and stuff have come out, and those prices are almost identical, even though there's no like physical retailers and all that stuff. And there's like one of the explanations or arguments I've seen for that is that they do that to incentivize brick and mortar sales. If they're the same price, then wouldn't you rather have the disc or the physical copy? But that's obviously contradictory to what game developers and publishers say these days. Is they say like players don't own their games and they'll be happy. It's like
Yeah,
everything's
you're
always
buying a
online. You
license.
have to rent. You're buying a license. You don't actually physically get the game anymore. So that argument goes out the window if that's the case, because they don't want people to buy and take it home, because if you plug it into your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever the fuck, you have to download something for an
But see if
update
you
or
think
patch, but
even
you
like,
can't.
I'm assuming for work you use anything Microsoft like Word or Excel, anything like that.
Yeah, there's some things like
Yeah, that's also a license. So if that's paid
yeah.
yearly, maybe monthly, I don't know how your work does it. And that's a lot of computers. If Microsoft were to turn around and be like, "Yeah, we're cancelling our Word Excel package," a lot of places would go under for sure. But it's also the same thing. It's like you don't own it; you're just using it.
It's like, yep, ta-da, surprise, no longer. And that could happen
Anyway,
at any point, or if the servers go down, or
Pardon you.
which I'm assuming we're going to discuss servers going down eventually.
Well, not really. This is more. This is
It's a
more
fucking massacre.
cancelled. This is cancelled items that were going to be in Battlefront, whether they were just discussions or they were late into development and cancelled.
Right.
There's a couple of points I should have added on here thinking back, but I'm already at like 45-ish points.
God damn. Okay.
I didn't realise it was that much. I was counting it while you were on your spiel there.
So, yeah, okay.
So, did you know that during the
no.
Clone Wars era that they were developing on, Ahsoka was very, very hard to get approved, and they didn't have an art style to fit Ventress. That was going to be the two heroes coming, and they would have arrived at the end of the
Right,
cancelled
okay.
year. So I think it was cancelled, what, 2020? 21? Oh no, it was 5 years ago, so
I think so.
2019. And
Fuck. Okay.
with Ahsoka and Ventress, we were going to get Dathomir.
Nothing.
I was always under the impression it was Coruscant or something like
Yeah.
a lot more established
That would
within
be-
the movies.
That would be cool if we got Coruscant.
But Dathomir was meant to be coming with Ahsoka and Ventress, which I thought was fascinating.
That is
Excuse
quite
me.
fascinating.
I did
yeah.
have another point in there, but apparently it didn't save. It was also Dave Filoni who gets the final say on
OG.
if Ahsoka is in anything, not just like Mandalorian or anything, but anything. He has final say.
Yeah.
The right of denial is called.
The right of denial. Well, see, the thing is, I trust Dave. We're on a first name basis, me and him, you know, obviously. But no, he seems to be very passionate about it. He clearly takes pride in knowing his work and stuff like that. I mean,
absolutely. Like
he clearly pours his heart into stuff because, like, have you seen Chef?
Excuse me.
Have you seen Chef? You've seen Chef, right? You've seen Chef. You like Chef? You seen Chef?
The fuck are you talking about?
Dave Filoni's movie. He made a movie, Chef, and it's about a struggling chef, and
No,
it's how
I've not seen
he
this.
works. He works out of. This is fucking awesome. Then, he works out the back of like one of those food trucks and stuff. It's basically
Right.
it's about food, but he's basically documenting making Iron Man, essentially
Right.
Iron Man 3 or whatever. So every like he references food and all that stuff, but it's basically just him expressing what it was like working on Iron Man and how he prefers
Do you mean John
doing
Favreau, not
his
Dave
own
Filoni?
work. I do mean John Favreau. Wait. Oh,
Dave Filoni's the hat.
the hat. Oh
Hatwear
no,
man.
no, I'm completely mixing them up. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
I was so confused. I'm like, I didn't know Dave Filoni actually done a movie before
Oh my God.
Mando and Grogu
No, he
coming
did
out.
animated. Yeah, he worked in. Yeah, no, I was
He done
confuzzled.
Avatar and shit.
Yeah, yeah. My bad. He is the hat.
And this one isn't
But I still
confirmed.
trust him. I still completely trust him as well.
Absolutely. This one isn't confirmed, and it was kind of more hinted at, but still by an ex-dev, that the ISB agent, the reinforcement for the Empire, had a lot of things thrown at it, and that includes possible Ahsoka animations.
Right.
And apparently it's Padme's face that they were using as well for the ISB agent.
Oh yeah. I do remember you saying that. I couldn't see it because it's the cool little helmet
Like,
thing that
I
she wears.
can kind of see the face, but it definitely has been altered in ways. Either that or Natalie Portman looked really fucked in it.
There you go. But that's it.
I was saying to Emma about this one in particular because like both of us love the character of Ahsoka. I mentioned like as soon as I read it, I was like, the ISB agent, the way that she runs is fully the pose that Ahsoka pulls when she lands on Mandalore after jumping out of the LA-AT.
Oh right. Okay.
And I was like,
The
that,
DNA
you know
is
what,
there,
that
as
that
in-
totally fits. Like, I totally believe that. It's like hinted at. It's not really rumored, but it is definitely hinted at. Here's one that I think is one of the biggest heartbreaks on this list. Ewok Hunt started out as a Mandalorian themed mode, and it was
what?
shut down due to pre-production of the Mandalorian show because Mandalorian show related stuff was completely off limits. So then that kind of
Oh.
fell back to, would Ahsoka actually have been allowed?
Yeah, because if that's the stance they're taking on it, then there's no reason to believe they wouldn't do that. See, that's what they really should do. They keep trying to monopolize everything and make the biggest, best thing ever, and they hog the rights of it like it's land, basically, like
Yeah.
very valuable land. And it is a valuable asset. Don't get me wrong. It's fucking Star Wars, the War in the Stars with laser swords and blasters that don't have recoil. We'll get
Well,
into that. I
don't.
promise. So the way that it works really well is there's a few things that have done this pretty well, but did kind of flop because the game itself wasn't the best. There was a game, I really can't remember it. There was a TV show and a game, but the game came first.
Right.
See, that's my point is I can't remember the fucking name of the game. That's part of it. But it's post-apocalyptic Earth, fighting big fucking monsters. It's that big arch, that big metal arch in America somewhere that has a fucking radio tower on the top of it.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, they released the game first, and then it gets hype for the game generated, and that flows over to the TV show, and obviously people can get into it from multiple. It's like, oh, it's a new TV show. I've never played the games. You don't need to give a fuck about the games. Who cares? It's a new TV show. But if you're already into the games, there happens to be a new TV show. I would believe you're more likely to get into it. And Quantum Break did that more recently, where they did a TV show that would impact the episode, I believe. And
I
when
really
you play
wish I
Quantum
enjoyed that
Break, you,
game.
you get the episode. It was a good concept. I liked the actor in it. That was pretty cool seeing like live action, like seeing actors
Yeah.
pop up in games. It kind of, it's a cool thing to happen. But I enjoyed it. I liked the concept and the storytelling. I was able to get into the TV show, and I felt like I was directly connected to it. And you know, it's not like some people get really parasocial with TV shows and shit, but that was like what I'd imagine it feels like because I was physically interacting with the story when I saw it. So like having the game there would maybe I would have easily burnt off that TV show. It's like a generic sci-fi TV show kind of thing.
Fair enough.
We have like time travel and stuff.
But what I want to ask is, what do you think Ewok Hunt, or I'm assuming Mandalorian Hunt would have been? Do you think it would have been Stormtroopers against a Mandalorian, or
100%, 100%. If you look at it, like if you were to describe what it would be like if Mandalorians fought or hunted, a bunch of stormtroopers, it would be like Mandalorians or like stormtroopers hunting Ewoks. Like they're completely next level. So you would probably have a small team of 4 or 5 Mandalorians, and then you would have the full player base of stormtroopers. Although I feel like this way, if you died as a stormtrooper, you wouldn't come back as an Ewok. You would be dead.
yeah?
And the numbers would just go down. You could spectate, or maybe that might be one of the reasons why it kind of got pushed off, because it was like that begins to get kind of mumbo jumbo-y.
Maybe.
I don't know. Who knows?
So, the main source of information I used off of Reddit was user Matshelge. Totally butchered that, I know.
Okay.
That's his username. He was the former live producer. So, he even explained with DICE, live producer really meant that he was more in control, like a manager role, rather than just being the money side of things.
Okay, he wants to get more hands on.
He was trying to push to get, or she, I don't know, I'm assuming he. They were trying to get Yado into the game because they already worked so hard on Yoda and all the animations that they
might as well just use
really.
it for...
I say really, they definitely did push for Yado, but unfortunately didn't happen.
Yeah. I
think it would have been a good counter, especially if you've got Boba Fett, a hard to hit target. If you had 2 hard to hit targets, I think that would have made a good balance.
There was a lot of... I did kind of feel like it was unbalanced a lot. Like the Force is a very un-Star Wars-y. Star Wars is all about the balance in the Force, whereas every time I play Battlefront, I fucking love the hero dueling, but I hate being the light side. There's a few good light side characters. You know, when we play Lando and Han, that's amazing.
Yeah, you'd sort of need to have people to rely on combos with.
Yeah, whereas being a Sith Lord, sorry, or a dark user, uh, it's so much more fun. It feels like
It feels
the
more powerful.
balancing hasn't been complete. Way more powerful, way more effective, especially when it comes to PvP. I've noticed like the light side, they're much better for PvE. I kind of feel like because
I would
they're
agree with that.
more defensive and stuff like that. So they're really good for co-op, and that's where they really shine. I feel like.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan in
Um,
co-op is like not unbeatable, but it's very, very close to it.
yeah, with that stamina and the way you can block and dash and stuff.
Yeah,
But
he's a
it's
defensive
decent when
character.
you're against blaster users like Phasma or Aiden and stuff like that. But once if you're playing like Showdown or something like that, once you've used him, he's expended, and they still have a whole bunch of fucking blaster users, and they would still keep the blaster users if they lost.
Yeah,
So your one only good defense for that is gone. So you're kind of punished for doing well. Whereas if they had like Yado, you'd be like, okay, I'll go Yoda, then I'll go Kenobi, and then I'll go Yado. So I've got three
I would say
defenses
maybe
because
even
they've
the
got
Yoda Yado combo, because
both of them would be good like together. But
to
you know,
me,
like
like Yoda is very supportive. He has his ever growing force push. The more damage he takes, the bigger output that the push is.
yeah.
So to me, I think it would be reverse, where Yado maybe have a force pull, kind of in the same aspect,
Oh,
where it'd
okay.
be short shotgun range,
Yeah.
but the more damage that she had blocked, like the further the range. Although I don't know what her next two abilities would be at all.
Yeah.
So,
Does
if
feel like they are unbalanced when it comes to adding.
oh, absolutely,
Like they were clearly not finished.
we
Look at
know,
Apex Legends
we
right
know.
now with that.
If the cancellation didn't happen, the original trilogy where they ended with Scarif. The original trilogy focus
Yeah.
would have stayed for another 3 to 4 months, being monthly updates as well. So a new hero every month, a new reinforcement type thing.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like I don't really care about that because I really wanted to play the Clone Wars. That's what I was there for mainly.
For the Republic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I don't know. We were supposed to get a lot more uh, original trilogy stuff in it, but we'll go into deeper detail later on.
Yeah.
There was plans for Mustafar. Now this one was a wee bit janky. Mustafar. I was
Okay.
getting in some places that there was only a prototype that wasn't really worked out, and then there was no prototype whatsoever. So I've kind of just leaned more on there was a prototype, uh,
Yeah.
because that came from Dennis
Likely
Bramville
explanation.
himself, who was a community manager. If I could be wrong in that. I think that was Ben Mock that was a community manager. But the plans for Mustafar was it was planned to be for Hero Showdown only, and then
Right.
Strike and Blast, the smaller gunfight modes, were like an afterthought for the map.
Okay.
And it made me think, like, how would you feel about just say, a small Call of Duty esque sized map for Hero Showdown on Mustafar?
I think that'd be fucking awesome because one, Mustafar is where the jewels. It's where you want to have a jewel because it's
Yeah,
Mustafar,
but unfortunately,
and
you
having the
couldn't do
smaller
Obiani.
condensed maps. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But they could have if they keep adding shit. You never know.
They could have, like, Dark Side Anakin skin for Darth Vader. Could have done it.
Yeah, but not having more smaller condensed maps. I feel like it would have helped the flow of combat. Some of the maps that were small didn't feel very small. Like the smallest one is inside the Calamarian ship, I think.
Oh,
Or
yeah, I was thinking Kashyyyk. No, you could be right.
Kashyyyk's quite big because it's like the small platforms, but it's like
It's
quite an
surrounding a big
expansive
tree
map.
type thing. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
easy to
you're
get
right.
lost. And one of the major flaws I feel like with the maps was that they're too open and they sacrifice a lot of just there's a lot of empty space that you can get thrown in and fall down, which is a feature, I guess, but it's too much
Yeah, it's great.
in some
I love
cases.
it.
It's frustrating, but it is
It's
when you
great for
get
a
a
mod
satisfying
character.
pull and push them off. But there's Kashyyyk is the worst one for it because it has so many little pitfalls and stuff like that. But no, I would prefer it. Like I would rather have more smaller, condensed maps.
So after doing much more deep diving into all of this, they had cancelled the idea of having Dathomir with Ahsoka and
Right.
Ventress, and then they decided it was going to be Mustafar with Ventress and Ahsoka, and that was going to drop after the big Scarif update. Like that was going to be the first sort of Clone Wars update,
Uh-huh.
which feels like a fucking kick in the teeth if you ask me.
A little.
Like
Just a little.
we get Scarif from an incredible movie, an incredible location. I feel like we could have got heroes with it. I feel like we could have got Krennic, Jyn Erso from Battlefront 1, who both played amazingly. You didn't really play Battlefront 1.
No,
Krennic
not at all, really.
had like a revolver with 6 shots. One of his abilities would change it into a one powerful blast, kind of like Leia's alternate fire.
Yeah. I remember like you showing me the game slightly.
He had a droid as one of his abilities, like an R2 unit, who put over a shield like Leia's, but it moved. It never really followed you. It kind of had its own path. And if any rebels had stepped into that shield, it would give off dioxis gas, which made him such a defensive character, and it was great. And his right ability like gave an extra 10 health or something. And Jyn Erso never really had any special abilities. She had one blaster and then 3 different alternate fires. So it could be changed from the pistol to a sniper, to a assault rifle, and I can't really remember the last one. Maybe a heavy repeater or something.
Yeah.
I feel like we definitely was starting to feel that sort of rushed way where they did know they were ending about halfway through development.
Stuff out the door.
So they were just pushing everything out that they had ready.
Yeah.
Or even that they didn't have ready. If the ISP agent is true, like they didn't have that ready, they just mashed it up and sent it out.
That would really suck, like being disheartening, like actually being a developer and knowing what you're working on and then getting cut short like that and then thrown out, knowing that it's not what it could have been if you just had a little bit more time. That would have been fuck that.
So one of my favourite maps from Battlefront, the original Battlefront 2, was Dagobah. It was a very foggy area, not foggy, like very
misty, I guess.
Very atmospheric. It was such a beautiful place, but I can only imagine in Battlefront 2, 2017, it would look out of this world, literally in that sense as well. Unfortunately, Dagobah was never on the table, which I think is absolute rubbish.
Such a prime Star Wars location.
I wouldn't say prime because there was never really a battle on Dagobah.
That's what I mean. Like you can explore this area that's not necessarily been
like thinking of every map that's in Battlefront. There was a battle.
That's true. Because you always want to.
The only one to me that makes no sense is Naboo, because we never had clones in episode 1. Coruscant was too technically challenging. The background painting and the animating it definitely halted it. And they learned that from Bespin from Battlefront 2015, which had like 1,000 odd bugs while developing it. And it, granted, was a beautiful map when it was released. Unfortunately, no one plays Battlefront 2015 anymore, so you can never find it again.
Insult to injury.
That dropped with, I'm sure it was Dengar and Lando played very differently in Battlefront 1. Umbara was in the works.
Umbara.
The Clone Wars episode, or arc with Pong Krell, turned Jedi with the fucking beefy lightsabers. It was in the work.
He's bad, isn't he?
Yeah, they scrapped it because they needed to make new units because they wanted to stay true to the source, so they didn't want droids running about in Umbara, they wanted the Umbarans. And we were having an Umbaran in the new game coming out, Zero, what is it? Zero
Company?
Zero Company, that's right.
Yeah, like most Star Wars fans, Zero Company.
Yeah. It was going to get a new mode as well. Nothing was ever spoke about what the mode was actually going to be. In my headcanon, I wanted it to work like battle station mode from Battlefront 2015, where you started in space, you went into the Death Star, but for this it would be going planetfall, having a
Yeah.
huge battle in between, and then maybe taking an Baron ship and going blowing up the droid ship that was in space.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, similar to yeah.
like, to me, that'd be fantastic. That seems like such a perfect mode, especially Clone Wars fans. It's almost in everyone's top 3 episodes of Clone Wars. Like, it's a fantastic arc, brilliant, love delighting. Imagine if we got Pong Krell kicking about as well. Fuck that. Guy's terrifying enough.
Krill, big giant asshole.
Someone had asked about Mace Windu. They were not going to bring Mace Windu due to wanting to have a diverse cast. Single-bladed heroes were the least priority. Django was in thought, but they didn't want to have 2 jetpack villains.
Right.
If Light had got a jetpack hero, it would be Sabine from Rebels. But if they brought Sabine, they wanted the counter to be Pre Vizsla, who was the dark saber holder in the Clone Wars, and Maul had beaten it from him.
Yeah.
So to me, that would mean, I would like to think anyway, Pre Vizsla would at least come with a dark saber ability.
Yeah. Yes, we can
Try
have
to
it
think, who is it?
like a Kimbo.
Captain Phasma, her melee is her like staff.
Yeah, she pulls out like in a Beskar staff, whatever.
Yeah, like so.
That'd be a good.
I would love that. Even the commando droids, how their
Or if
melee
it's
is
a
their
block or
vibroblades.
something.
A block,
I mean,
yeah, that's a fucking good
it
shout.
could be. It could be so many things. It could be.
But then again, Sabine also had the dark saber, so would her ability have that as well?
Well, maybe it might be different. She would have a different fighting style. Maybe
Maybe.
she has the one that can block. And I wouldn't say she wouldn't be able to block blaster bolts, obviously, but like melee hits 100%. So instead of doing the whole kind of roll thing, you could have a different type of way to play where you can block instead. So you
I
don't
don't
have to
know,
kind of
because
evade and
Sabine
shoot.
was taught by Kanan, and Ahsoka is currently training her. So I don't know, but Pre Vizsla I feel like would definitely have trouble blocking, unless it was kind of like General Grievous blocking, where he could only block 2 or 3 hits and then either get the fuck out of there or dive in.
It would be cool if they had similar fighting styles or similar animations. You can tell that they were
Xbox just
clearly.
turned on. So on that subject as well, they wanted more blaster heroes. Rex and Cad Bane were mentioned. Plo Koon and Qui-Gon Jinn were also mentioned, which makes me wonder like where the single-bladed was the least priority, because that's Plo Koon and Qui-Gon. So I don't know if they were in earlier talks and then decided Rex and Cad Bane would be sort of next in the list, because if you think about it, both are dual wielding, both are blasters, both. I would say Cad Bane more had a sort of jetpack. He used his boot jets, and Rex had a jetpack maybe 3 times throughout all of the Clone Wars.
See, I would like more blaster users, and I would love more jetpack users. The way that the jetpack user we got as a hero, that's not mentioning obviously the reinforcements, which are fucking awesome.
The reinforcements
the-
work way better than the hero.
That's the point. The reinforcements are so much better than the hero, but that's not necessarily an issue with the hero. That's just how that one jetpack hero would work. If there was another one, it could totally be that way. Like, Boba Fett's very evasive. He can fuck you up from a distance, so it's kind of difficult to keep him in the air if you're not juggling your abilities correctly. If you
Yeah,
don't use your
so
fucking sonar ability and stuff.
I would imagine
You
that
could
Cad
fall
Bane
out
would
the sky.
work like the First Order Trooper. And I would imagine Captain Rex would work like Boba Fett, because they don't really hover the clones, they jetpack to a location. Whereas
Yeah.
Cad Bane, you see him a lot just hovering. Especially in his
Because he
fight with
passively
Obi-Wan
hovers.
and Quinlan Vos.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see an issue with a character that could be constantly in the sky. I mean, we see that with other kind of games when it comes to combat, like Marvel Rivals and stuff. You've got characters that can float.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of characters in Star Wars that would float, like from either side. That'd be kind of cool having jetpack users. It'd make everything look more dynamic because the games look awesome on their own. So even just that would make things so much better looking.
Yeah, it's just all very grounded, apart from Boba, who is just a pain in everyone's ass.
Yeah.
Like playing Hero Showdown, imagine you're playing on Crate, the teammate dies and Boba Fett's just doing nothing but running for the full 5 minutes, that teammate's probably left. Like, he doesn't want to
Yeah,
sit
they're
for
out.
5 minutes while this
What's
Boba's
the
running
point?
away, while the other two are sweating their ass off trying to catch the Boba.
That's frustrating. I mean, they could do like, because some games make a drastic shift as to like gameplay mechanics. Like they add something that can really change something. Like, it wouldn't be too crazy for them to update the way the spawns work, or where you might be able to get put back into the game, or I don't know.
See, you say that, but right now I think there's literally only one person that's to just take a peek every now and then at Battlefront. Clone Wars, in EA's views, was very low priority. They wanted original trilogy more than anything. DICE kind of like fought it so hard, especially like after the success of Geonosis coming and having Obi-Wan, Grievous, Dooku, and Anakin coming in.
Yeah.
It skyrocketed player base, and EA were still we want original trilogy, which is why Scarif was the last update. So like they'd done a bit of the Clone Wars, now okay, we have to make this Rise of Skywalker and then go back to Scarif.
Because it was like it was the board's decision as to what they thought was cool, but it was not where the fans' heads were at all. I mean, the Clone Wars was popping off at that point. They were doing incredible stuff with the story, and they were introducing like a fucking sandbox, like a big giant box of toys that they could have played with and that they could have used and expanded upon. Like I feel we see that happening a lot with like Halo, the TV show, for example, or like other things where there's a lot of source material. Like Halo had a bunch of books, Star Wars had a bunch of legacy and a bunch of animated TV shows. Well, animated episodes at this point. I think there was only the Clone Wars, right? And apart from the previous animated one, the kind of much more cartoony
Clone
one.
Wars and Rebels. Rebels was out.
Oh yeah, okay. So they had a lot of context and content, sorry, that they could have used, but they always go, "Oh, we want to focus on this because we know best." It's like I get it, like that is the OG Star Wars, and this is your new version of it, but it's like read the
Basically, like with Battlefront, they prioritize movies. DICE even said, I don't think I wrote this down, but DICE even said like they snuck a lot of Clone Wars stuff in that they shouldn't have done because everything was Lucasfilm approved.
right, just as an homage.
Yeah, because
Well, at least they're
DICE are fucking great. DICE are amazing. DICE are great.
It's usually the studios are
They're
never
fans. That's
to
the problem.
blame.
They are fans of Star Wars, and they're being held back. It's like, hey, we want you to make a Star Wars game. Imagine they came to you. We want you to be the lead of a Star Wars game. You give us all your ideas, and we'll tell you no. That's effectively what they've done. It's bullshit.
It's rather unfortunate, one would say.
This is just a wee small detail, but Padme was in the top 10 list of heroes to be made, but they could not think of any abilities for her. And I sat in this for a while, and I couldn't even think of a single ability I would have for her.
When she takes damage, her shirt rips in a really evocative way. You know, that'd be a good distraction.
I don't think Lucasfilm would allow that.
Probably not.
Sorry to say, but I don't think so.
They should have.
So, as mentioned earlier, they knew the end of service was coming when they were working on the original trilogy. Devs pushed for an extension to do one last big update in all eras before shutting down. They were told no. They wanted reinforcements rather than heroes, just for a bigger spread for bigger game modes. So playing Supremacy with a lot more reinforcements rather than a hero you can't play because some sweaty guy with a sniper managed to get 12,000 points while you only just got your 4,000 points. So they wanted people to diversify. Like, they want everyone to play everyone. They don't want to just everyone push for Jedi, which is what I like. I like the Clone Wars fighting, and you prefer the more hero fighting.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is why co-op is great.
Although I do really like the giant scale battles. Like that is really awesome.
Like, do you remember when Supremacy came out and the games would last like 4 or 5 hours?
I love that. You felt like you were really in it. You know, like there was a giant combat. Like, and if you got tired, well, fuck it, you just disconnect. You know, whatever.
Every game I played on Bay length games was fucking fantastic. It was like a state of euphoria. It was great for me. I loved every minute.
They are really,
And then,
really cool.
like, they did admit, like, they were keeping like uptime on servers, so they had to bring time down a bit. So like, it was brought down to like 2 hours, and now I think it hits an hour, if that.
That's still
It's not a good
that's
length
still
of
pretty
time.
good. I think I completed that.
On the subject of reinforcements, they tested for a generic Jedi as a reinforcement, but they never proposed it to the higher ups. Which I think,
Generic Jedi.
just a Jedi with one ability.
That would be so. So it's like kind of like a reinforcement, but it's still a Jedi.
A reinforcement,
it's
still a
not
Jedi, so I imagine like
a
reduced
Padawan or some
stamina,
shit.
health of a
But
reinforcement, so just about 400 rather than the 600 to 800, or even
yeah,
900 for Vader. Yeah, I would see it working. I could fully see it working. And maybe even as a counter, I would say maybe like a Sith assassin, kind of like Ventress, a Night Sister maybe.
that would be sick.
So R2D2 was on the pitching process, but they could not come up with a good dark side counter as a hero.
Dark side counter. Well, you could just do a dark side droid, or I think it'd be quite cool if they brought in those strategic droids. You know the fucking
What, the tactical droids?
the tactical droids. That's the word.
Sort
Yeah,
of the flat cap head?
yeah. Brought some of those in. Why not?
Maybe, but I feel like R2 would be very slow compared to one of them. I feel like they would be a lot more hard hitting than R2.
I don't know. I feel like they would kind of they would run, but I feel like they'd kind of run kind of jankily. Like they're very strategically savvy, but they're
And
not
plus,
very
you need
melee
to think
savvy.
R2 isn't all trilogies, and they were only in the Clone Wars. They weren't even
Oh
in the
fuck
movies.
yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah, no, I can see how that would be difficult. I guess you could just do like some random.
Someone did suggest that, but what's his name? Matshelge, did not reply.
That's sad.
So Poe was
That's not red.
planned to be a hero, with BB-8 acting as a companion. I'm assuming AI and not player controlled, although they did have that feature in Battlefront 1 where Palpatine
Yeah.
spawned in. You would have two Royal Guards spawn in, Leia, two Rebel assistants spawning in as players. So I don't know if it would be BB-8 as a player or just an AI. But Oscar Isaac had just had a kid, so he couldn't lend his voice, and he also did not reply to DICE when they wanted to get the voice lines. BB-8 was already completed, so they just pushed
Right.
BB-8 out as the hero rather than Poe. And for BB-98, it was literally just a recolor and change the head shape.
And different noises.
Different noises,
Can't forget.
It was easy for BB-8 because they didn't need any voice actors or like any mocap. It was literally just a ball, like.
Yeah.
And on that subject as well, Poe was already Lucasfilm approved. He technically did have voice lines in Starfighter Assault when you played Black One.
All right. Okay.
Hux was not going to be the villain coming with Poe.
I'm the spy.
They didn't really say who would be the counterpart for Poe. But Hux wasn't going to be the villain due to looking like a normal officer. It's the same reason we didn't get a Stormtrooper Han or Luke skin, because it would just look like normal troops, and it would be very confusing, I imagine, for some people. And
Yeah.
the whole being a spy, it made no sense, and I put that in quotes as well, because it is something that he did touch on quite a lot.
I do feel like, though, in retrospect, I think he only became the spy like after he got really pissed off with Kylo Ren. I don't think he was
the
a
thing
spy
is,
the whole
even
time.
if they were to say to Lucasfilm, we want to bring Hux because we've got Poe, Lucasfilm would already know that he would be the spy, so they would just tell him no, or tell them no.
That's true.
So a lot of
There's
people,
another.
including myself at some point, wanted Battlefront to be 64 players, 32. But it was never an option. They didn't want to do it. They wanted to reduce players to 24 and have 100 AI soldiers for a better feel in the non-toxicity of players.
Right. They trust us a lot.
I quite like it. I quite like the idea of that. Supremacy, for that fact, although the AI feel like very basic, something we'll touch on later. It felt better. Like, it's not going to. I think they even did mention that a lot of people would just be sniping along the bigger maps. With Supremacy,
Right.
like if you think of Geonosis, you've got like 4 or 5 clones or droids per command post. Like sort of defense rather than, like, I think they still run in every now and then. I don't know. It's been a
Okay.
while since we've actually sat and played Battlefront properly.
No, yeah, it's true. It's been
Do
a
you-
little while.
Do you remember the game mode jetpack cargo?
Jetpack cargo. Jetpack cargo.
It was only in the
No.
game twice, and was removed twice for being far too buggy.
Right, I don't. That doesn't ring a bell.
Cargo
at
was a
all.
mode returning from Battlefront 2015. I think that was a game mode that came with the Bespin DLC, where it would be kind of like a hover cart. You would like go over, press X, press square or E to get it moving, and then you would need to defend it while it was moving. And every single player is a jetpack trooper.
Right.
So it was just rebels and stormtroopers, I'm sure, but everyone was jetpack troopers. It was all rocket launchers, all jetpacks, all single blasters. It was a fucking mess. It was great fun, but it was a mess.
Sounds like pure chaotic. See, that's chaotic games.
Apparently,
Chaotic
at
shit's
some
good.
point, the game mode was going to turn into something involving Hondo Onaka's gang, but Matshelge had no memory of it, but he said it wouldn't pass, like, it wouldn't sound out of place.
Hmm. Yeah, like so far, like some of the decisions don't seem that. I can
It
kind of
gets
see
worse.
reason, but oh god, okay.
Not for that single point, just all the points, it gets way worse. Two of
Just
which the next
the
ones
driving
are
and the
very
points.
sore.
I mean, so what? We could have had Mandalorians. We could have had obviously Ahsoka. We could have
So
had.
that's the first page done. We could have had Dathomir, Ventress, Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Yado, more original trilogy focus stuff, Mustafar, Coruscant, but it was too much. Dagobah was never in the works. Umbara,
Coruscant would have looked awesome.
Sabine, Pre-Vizsla, Rex, Cad Bane, Plo Koon, Qui-Gon, Padme, R2-D2. So already, like, that just feels like sort of in-game stuff. It hasn't really touched game modes. Like the pod racing game mode that was taken away.
Oh, pod racing.
There was a
that's what
pod
I
racing
call
game
pod
mode
racing.
in the work. Apparently, it was to Matshelge. It was very, very fun to play, but very. I think he used the word junky or janky.
Janky?
Janky. He used janky. I'm assuming he
Janky.
meant janky, the way we use janky.
Janky. Yeah, probably.
Which to me is really unfortunate because the pod racing game from way back when is really, really fun to play. It's Mario Kart, but Star Wars. It's great. You can't go wrong. It's fucking pod racing.
No, that's what I call pod racing.
I couldn't find anything on it, but I feel like it would be Criterion that would have worked on that because they had done Starfighter Assault. They were the ones that worked purely in that
The
game.
vehicle gameplay and
Like
stuff.
DICE
okay.
had nothing to do with Starfighter Assault. That was all Criterion. Do you know what a
Convenient.
dev jam is?
Yes, a dev jam. Yes, a dev jam is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Developers jam. They maybe it's just they do live streams and they develop the game or they play the game and demos and stuff. If that's correct, I don't know.
It could be
Something
in other
along those
places,
works.
but the term dev jam to DICE means you have about 3-4 days. Go and develop whatever the fuck you want.
Oh, right. Okay, so you can make your own mini game and
Go and make your own mini game.
own
And
little
Dev Jam,
thing.
someone made an Order 66 game mode.
That's cool.
You had 4 Jedi, unnamed, generic Jedi, versus an unlimited amount of clones, AI, which spawned in waves. Similar to Left 4 Dead, each Jedi had one ability. One had a shield, one had heal, one had push, and the other one was undisclosed, unfortunately.
That's so
I
cool.
would assume pull because you have a push.
Yeah.
The mode was only made on Kashyyyk, where you spawned on the beachfront and you had to make your way up to the inside of the Venator where you extracted from.
That would be really cool.
That sounds fucking incredible, doesn't it?
They could like try and package that on its own.
Absolutely, and they never will. But having Star Wars Left 4 Dead, but you're playing as fucking Jedi versus clones,
Da, da, da.
You know how we have this
The
fucking
music.
fight within
They're
ourselves
spawn killing us now.
that EA are fucking stupid with the license that they had? Sure, Battlefront 1 was good. Battlefront 2 was great eventually.
They were chasing the wrong tails.
The two Jedi games were great. That's it.
Yeah,
We had
not
Galaxy
much
Heroes,
else.
the mobile game. We also had another mobile game, but that was a different company, and that just shut down, which is unfortunate because
Sad.
apparently it was coming to PC and consoles later down the line, and it was really fucking fun, so I don't get why the cancellation. On the notes of Dev Jam, Felicia was made in a Dev Jam. Someone just sat
Felicia.
down and made Felicia.
Oh, well, there you go. That is an example of how they're able to get it, like, actually in the real world.
Yeah, like,
If developers had a lot more freedom to actually change or develop the way the game worked, like if they were like, okay, if they had the freedom to kind of create, that's typically when you get a really good game. But they're like, no, it needs to. Star Wars is such a heavy IP. You need to make sure you follow so many rules.
because it's Lucasfilm as well, you really need to follow,
Yeah.
or you're going to get cancelled. Like the OG Battlefront 3, that was 90%, 99% complete. I'm sure it was just bug fixes, and they pulled it like a couple months before release, which had like space to ground seamless combat, where you could
It's so
jump in a ship in a fucking a Venator or an Acclimator, I think they actually used, head down to Coruscant, fight with alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi, jump in an enemy ship, go up to the fucking enemy fucking dreadnought, I think they were called, and blow it up from the inside and then fucking leave.
Yeah.
The fucking the Star Wars is infuriating.
Star Wars is amazing. It's how it's been handled. Is the issue.
Chewbacca with a C-3PO on his back was on the to-do list.
Is that the skins?
The skin.
It's better than the fucking.
Not fuck you. The bandage one
Armband.
shows respect to
bandage is-
Peter Mayhew.
I know it's pays respect. I didn't fucking know that, and it's still a shit skin.
Yes. Anthony Daniels
Respect.
was too expensive. Also,
Yes.
he alone has the first right of denial for whatever comes about C3PO. But another thing as well, someone pointed out in the comments that this person said that Anthony Daniels said that he would do C3PO no matter what the money was because he loves the character so much. So I don't know if there was a miscommunication or something, because he was in Battlefront 1. He was in the loading screens doing his R2, where are you? Like from A New Hope. So I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't know if there's any truth to that, or I mean this most of this is coming from Matshelge.
Yeah.
Star Wars ended on or Battlefront 2 ended on a massive big bang, an episode of greatness when it brought Star Wars Celebration Edition.
Yeah.
You got all the
Yeah,
skins, like it released with that like pure Star Wars inspiring trailer, which I watched and repeat for days because it was just great. The reason that we never got the Rey and Kylo pre-order skins, a part of that, was because of legal. They were worried they were going to get sued over the term of exclusive, which I get.
Oh.
I do get, but also quite infuriating where you kind of say you get everything, but you don't.
But you don't.
Like the only things they did say that you wouldn't get would be like the Kenobi scream, or like all the stuff you had to earn, like Farm Boy look, the stuff you had to earn, old master skin for Maul. You wouldn't get that. You would still need to do a wee bit of work after the game was finished.
Right.
Do you remember when Battlefront 2 came out that we had seasons?
Seasons?
You had Season of
No,
Last
see,
Jedi.
I don't even remember that. See, I remember obviously the big kind of content dumps and stuff when those movies had started, essentially. But
Yeah.
I don't remember seasons or anything. I more kind of saw it as updates.
So from
But
what
again,
I
it could just be me.
remember is like for The Last Jedi coming out, Crate dropped, Phasma and Finn dropped. And and you could pick a side if you wanted the Resistance or First Order to win within this timed event.
Right.
I don't remember what you got if you won or what you didn't get if you lost. I don't know that. I can't remember that anyway. But even with solo, they kind of ditched the idea of if you win or lose type thing. And obviously we got Alden Ehrenreich and the amazing Donald Glover skins for Han and Lando. And then it seems like they kind of just dropped seasons.
Disappeared.
Seasons were planned to keep going, but the progression rework due to the loot box controversy and the reduced team made them pull the plug.
Rip.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of apprehension and stuff. I've noticed when it comes to that, I guess they're trying to avoid legal troubles and they're battling with big companies and they're battling with companies that are not used to games.
To me, it just sounds like it's all one big internal battle.
Yeah, like the right hand is clearly not talking to the left hand.
What do you think for the player base right now, if anyone was to jump in Battlefront 2, what do you think the biggest issue would be right now? If you were to jump on and try and find a game of Galactic Assault. Maybe
I've
not right now
noticed-
due what the date is.
Yeah. But the biggest problem, sometimes, it's funny because it's hard to actually kind of find one in retrospect. Because you could still find games relatively quickly for how old the game is. It's still quite popular, but that's about it, I think. Like, it's a great game to jump into.
Absolutely. To me, I would say player count is low. It's nowhere near as low as Battlefront 2015. Battlefront 2015, you could take fucking hours. Like Titanfall 2, you'd take hours to find a single game.
Oh, I've never found a game. I can only find games of like Frontier Defense.
So this isn't on the list, but did you know that Steam was only 5% of the player base for Battlefront 2?
Mainly consoles.
It was
Fuck yeah, represent.
it was as high as 85% on console.
I guess
obviously
it
it changed when
better on console, and back in the day.
Maybe Epic made the game free at some point, and it brought in like a massive player spike of 500,000 players or something.
Right.
So to me, one of the biggest issues is the lack of crossplay.
You have all those console players that can't connect with each other.
Crossplay was pushed heavily by the devs. It got to the stage of meetings, however, it lacked the resources, so it was never made.
I wonder why that is. Respawn, not Respawn. Fuck, Freudian slip.
To go back onto the subject of Mandalorian, the TV show, and how we couldn't have anything Mandalorian themed. How do you feel about battle royales?
Right, this fucking hell. So battle royales feel like they've been like this horse has been long.
Bearing in mind this is maybe like 2019, 2018 time. So like height of Apex or before Apex, I think.
I think so, potentially. Maybe 2019, 2020, 2020, maybe.
I don't know.
I can't remember. But back then, you had PUBG, things like that. The Battle Royale formula was very clearly working. Fortnite, all of that stuff. I think if they were to pull off a Mandalorian kind of almost like if they had done an extraction shooter like Tarkov and stuff, that might have been interesting because the chances of them trying to do something a little different might have been there. But a battle royale in Star Wars would have been fucking awesome, especially if it was Mandalorians. The way they covet weapons, that would work very well into the lore. The armor customization would look awesome, having all of that freedom to kind of express your character, because that way it's not like a hero-based shooter. Because then if they did do Mandalorians, that unlocks a whole lot of potentials. It's like, okay, well, you're not, Boba Fett. You can get a Boba Fett skin or armor decorations probably if you played a lot or got stuff like that. But you could very clearly create the monetization that they would probably want, they'd beg for, with all the armor options that you'd get, and then you'd have this live service aspect with what they want as well. I think it'd be hard to pull off. Because at the point, Fortnite was sensational. Star Wars was a big kind of hot topic button. battle royales were the thing, so it probably would have gotten a lot of attention. But if they did the whole EA crunch thing, where they might have been short on resources and didn't have a lot of stuff out the gate, it might have been dead on arrival.
Do you want to know
But
why I asked you?
why?
Now, it is lacking in details, but the Mandalorian Battle Royale mode was big in talks. From what I understood, it was going to be a 50-person free-for-all, and in the map was going to be one large monster. They used the word monster. So I imagine maybe a Rancor on Tatooine with 50 Mandalorians just battling it out.
That sounds fucking awesome. I'm at like concepts like that where I don't assume it's not asymmetrical because that's probably an AI monster or some shit.
I'm assuming,
Like a
I don't
bot.
think it's going to be like Evolve. I think it
Nah.
would be an AI Rancor or, oh my god, there's so many endless amount of fucking scary shit
But
in
that
Star Wars.
that would really create a good like because that thing could roam around the map
It
and
adds
create a lot of damage,
replayability.
and
That's what
it'd
it
be a
does.
different place, different time. Maybe you get a really good flank or a third party on this group, and then all of a sudden the Rancor just comes around the fucking corner, starts demolishing everyone.
Yeah, but guess what, Ben?
It was cancelled.
It was cancelled. You're not getting it.
Fucking hell. You get excited about one little thing, and then it's like all this potential.
And
Nope,
it's thrown away
thrown away. It's
every
thrown
time.
away. And look at what they replaced it with, because that's working so well right now.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the player count is of 2042.
Oh
So
yeah, that game.
one of my personally one of my most wanted items was more Palpatine skins. I felt like he was severely lacking
He didn't
skins.
really have a lot of skins at
He
all.
had two
There
by
was
the
a
end of the
few.
whole thing, which was his
There was a
main
few
one
characters.
and the Rise of Skywalker skin, which granted looks amazing. I love that skin, but the fact it was
Palpatine is
free,
weird.
it was
What?
hurtful.
Yeah.
So there was no
His,
prequel Palp skins in the talks at all. And in fact,
which is weird.
they
You'd think
even
you'd consider that.
they even went on to say that voice actors were always on the cards to return, but they were too expensive. Which makes me think
Fucking
EA was just giving them fucking nothing. I think they made
probably
it to be
not.
dead on arrival at this point, from what it sounds like.
They were probably trying to focus on other prospects at this point. They were like, yeah, fuck, forget that, whatever.
Yeah. The devs did not care for a loadout system, even though apparently it was found in the
That's
files.
something that players really want, is being able to have loadouts.
Yeah, like even for heroes, because imagine like you're doing heroes versus villains. You know me, I'm Maul. I like throwing heroes as far as possible. Just give us some distance. It's great. I
It's
love
so
doing it.
satisfying. I
Whereas
hate it, but it's satisfying.
if it's like in a game mode like Galactic Assault, I would rather get rid of the pushing away because I'm just giving the gunners more range to shoot me with. I would rather have the throw them at a little distance but do much more damage. Heroes were meant to get that sort of loadout system as well, where you could have star cards set out and set loadouts.
Really customize your gameplay.
Yeah, but they said that characters and outfits mattered the most, so they cancelled the loadout system.
Money! I'm assuming that's why, because of
I would
the
I would
monies that they
assume,
could have
but like
gotten.
they weren't really making money by the end of the game at all because everything was free. It was just earned in game, or you could buy crystals, but they didn't cost much. Like you're talking maybe 5,000. I think it went in tiers. I think the legendary skins were like 20,000, and that's maybe 5 games of co-op. You've got that.
Right.
It's maybe more than that. I can't actually remember what your sort of ratio was to getting credits back. A lot of people were wondering, myself included, why the maps from Battlefront 2015 were not ported. We did get
Because they
two.
had that entire catalogue. Yeah.
We had Jabba's Palace and Cloud City. They two were brought from Battlefront 2015 into 2017 into Battlefront 2. But the reason they did not just simply copy and paste was it was made in a different lighting engine, so all of it would need rebuilt. So that means that they've totally rebuilt Cloud City and Jabba's Palace, which took me by surprise. I didn't know that.
I guess you don't really think about like stuff that's, even if it is just a port, the amount of work that goes into just a port on its own.
Yeah, and to add to it as well, I've not got this written down, but apparently Scarif is a different map from Battlefront 2015. I thought they were the same map. I thought it was just a port over, but it's a total different map to consider for stuff like Boba Fett. Like in the 2015 version, there was a lot more trees, so I feel like you'd be rendered useless.
Yeah,
Because if you remember in Battlefront, the hedges are solid. You can't shoot through them.
those hedges are made of some material. Well, they're kind of, they're space hedges, right? You know,
Yeah, it's a different density, different
very different density, different gravity, different atmosphere. Exactly, yeah. It's all explained. Don't worry about it. Science, magic.
or science we don't understand.
Exactly.
So Yoda's
From a land far, far away.
this one shocked me. I didn't get the vibe off of this at all. It makes sense. Yoda's initial moveset was done by the movie mocap actor,
Right.
but they ended up using more hand animation in the end. So there was still some uh, aspects, try to find the right word. Like just some touches of the
DNA.
mocap was still in there. Yeah, DNA works as well, which I think is really, really weird. I never thought that. I didn't understand movie mocap. Like I don't understand. I don't ever remember seeing a fucking guy in a green suit in any of the behind the scenes.
I think it might have just been for, because obviously when you had that fight with Dooku, that was very flips and stuff, so that might have just been like more hand animated or kind of crazy. But when he's walking around and stuff, they might need a reference at least of like,
you know what, that makes sense.
Body to place it onto. So it might be, I don't know.
No, that makes sense. I'll eat my words on that.
But if they implemented that properly, that's the only point.
So I'll just say Matt. Matt wanted Mimbam from Solo to appear for a diversity in map design. Mimbam was the very muddy place where Chewie was kept prisoner.
Oh, right, okay, right, yeah.
Where Han was a mud trooper, which would have added a really cool looking skin.
A whole lot of skin. Yeah. Those skins would have been so cool.
There was more to that. They said, I didn't write it down for whatever reason, but they said Matt really wanted this different sort of environment that they hadn't made before. But I feel like Felucia kind of touched on it as like that wee bit muddy. Nowhere near as bad as Mimbam. Mimbam is mud. Like they are called mud troopers for a reason.
That's more of like a forest kind of vibe.
Yeah. But yeah, like
which was really cool, like experiencing that map compared to other maps. There was a good diversity of maps, like
by the end, yeah, there was more than enough maps.
But there could have been so much more.
DICE were given very, very, very little access, or early access, to like Solo, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. So they could only go by what we had, was trailers. So every map they built for any corresponding game maps, costumes, anything like that, they went by the trailer.
Oh. So they didn't have much to go off of.
They had nothing to go off, bar the trailer, which I think is really, really shitty on Disney's part. I'm assuming it was them that said no.
They could have given them some files or some.
Or yeah, concept art or something.
Models or concept art, so they can. I mean, they're making the same EP. Why do we have this like compartmentalization? Like it's like the Oppenheimer project.
Avoid spoilers. I'm assuming anyway. I think it's just like. You can't give EA an exclusive license to then like give them nothing to work with.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. Like with Battlefront 2015, there was a lot of maps in there that weren't in the movies, and it felt like they had a wee bit more freedom. Like obviously they had Jakku, which came out 1 week after the game's release. That map was fantastic. It had nothing to do with Force Awakens. It showed how the war ended just on a different planet. It didn't show Endor, it showed a different planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it went into even more detail in Battlefront 2's campaign, and it's a really cool story. It's a good fight. but I don't know. It's
Because that would have been a really cool thing to see. Look, from what you've had experience, like you want to believe it. Like seeing it would be the greatest thing. I mean, there's always the risk it could just fall apart and it's like a shit thing. It's like, oh, we thought it'd be cool, but no, who knows?
yeah. Apparently, like this isn't anything to, or I guess it kind of touches on the game, but apparently the devs were allowed to just ask the OG actors for design tips in the character models. So they could just casually phone up Mark Hamill and be like, "Hey, how do you feel about this?" And
That would be that little touch. That's awesome.
someone specifically said, "So you can just phone Mark Hamill," and Matt replied saying, "And give up Matt Mercer," which I thought was pretty funny. Matt voiced Luke and
I didn't know
Kylo,
that.
I'm sure.
So it was. Holy shit! I did not know that.
John Boyega, Finn, posted on X, formerly Twitter, that Oscar Isaac wanted to play Poe and they discussed it while filming. Doesn't say what film. I would assume Rise of Skywalker, because The Last Jedi was due out a couple of weeks after Battlefront 2's update.
Yeah.
Again, like I told you many times playing Battlefront over the years how much I wanted Poe. Like he's my favourite fucking
Poe would
sequel
have been
character.
awesome. He would have fit into the Starfighter mode as well, obviously.
They definitely dropped the ball, but it feels like it wasn't just EA. It feels like Lucasfilm definitely held them on such
They
a
were
hard
a massive
grasp.
roadblock. Yeah.
So
They want to be super protective of this IP, but they're the ones that are butchering it, you know? You're the ones doing damage to it. These games are kind of a different format. They take better care of the content matter, I've noticed.
So everyone wanted to stay on Battlefront 2. They did not want to go to Battlefield 2042. They were made to go, hence the shutdown. DICE held such a grudge against that 90% of the team at DICE left DICE.
Like, fuck this.
Dennis Branville,
they're
the
getting...
guy I mentioned earlier, I can't exactly remember his role. He left because EA turned down the pitch, his personal pitch for Battlefront 3.
I mean, if they're not listening to the developers, you know, at what point are the developers, and then they just
like
become...
Your hands are tied?
Yeah, you're not... I mean, yeah, you are technically developing at that point. You're making it, you're constructing it, but there's no real freedom of expression there. They don't get to... Because they're the ones making it, so they'd be the best ones to figure out this would be like how it... This would be the best way for it to go. I don't know if that makes sense. Whereas they just want, like, oh, well, it needs to...
I will interject. Dennis Branville was the creative director.
Right.
I just had to fact check myself.
That's fair. But like as you see, like recently, smaller indie developers that are completely free, that are kind of like self-run, like even like very small studios, like one-man studios, have been dropping really good games.
The best example of that is look at VR games. It's typically just a very small team,
a small team,
privately owned publisher, and they're doing fantastic. Well, maybe not fantastic, but they're doing well.
But
they're making great
really
games.
Good. Yeah, and they're always working at a profit. Is that, you know, not a lot of money goes into these things. They always have a small budget, obviously, because they're restrained on that.
Yeah, it's a wee bit jobby, a wee bit shit.
A wee bit jobby, just a little bit.
So the plans for the original trilogy, I mentioned earlier that it was going to last for a couple more months, was to have possible capital ships, how we'd have in Supremacy for Clone Wars, we have, and the sequel trilogy, how you fight on ground, you go up into the ship, you fight on ground, and you repeat until whoever wins. The Age of the Empire doesn't have that. They don't have the ships. Once you've done the ground combat, that's it, game over, you win. So they wanted to add in the capital ships, and they wanted skins for the Empire, because all we got realistically was the Shore Trooper and the Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
They didn't have time, and they couldn't, like, there was no ship scenario, no capital ship scenario in a way that Clone Wars had. It felt like there was always a fight on a Venator, always a fight on a Dreadnought. There was never really a fight on Home One. There was never really a fight on Darth Vader's personal Star Destroyer. So I can kind of see the reasoning behind that, but also, like, you had an attack on the Death Star. I know we have the Death Star map, but like, You could at least made it on Yavin, have the Tantive 4 Leia's blockade runner, or the Death Star be attacking.
You could put so many, because they do have the a lot of the assets, obviously, because they've built those ships before and they've already got those ships. But it wouldn't be too difficult to create like a map like that, more
Not at all. Like
varied.
with the Empire, it seems very copy paste. Like even when we loaded up Minecraft with the Star Wars skin pack or texture pack, that like the sort of Death Star wall panels is on every Star Destroyer. It's on every Imperial base, every Imperial outpost. It is very copy and paste with the Empire. It's very monotone to me.
It feels like, because obviously when you see these little game jams and stuff like that, they create these awesome mini projects, and then when they pitch these ideas, and they're really pitching it, like they wouldn't pitch it if they didn't think they could do it, you know? And it wouldn't be necessarily difficult to do if you think about it. I mean, it wouldn't be easy, it'd be extra time and work, but if it's something that they're passionate about, they probably would be fine with it. So it kind of makes me think that EA was really, or whatever was happening, like crunch for time, mismanagement. You know, the devs can work on something, and then it can be struck off the record like that. So they don't really know what they're working on. Everything's kind of half finished. They don't know if it's just going to get thrown out or like revised. They have to like, oh, we've changed this. Like we like what you're doing, but we've changed it, and it completely fucks everything over.
Yeah.
If they, because they're saying, okay, well, I feel like I'm echoing, because you just let the developers control the flow of how it goes, and you curtail it to make sure that they're staying within the leash, right? Don't
Yeah, like
that's kind of, it's kind of muddy because it kind of sounds like that's what's happening, and it's other factors that get in the way, but it's not really.
it does feel very disheartening for this game that we fucking love. We got very good at, played
Very
daily
good.
for years.
It did many games until we found someone that could beat us, and then they beat us. Holy shit!
Yeah, like it was doing this research. It was like DICE got really, really fucked on this.
Yeah,
Like
it's
really
sad because
fucked.
they're really good developers,
Yeah,
and it's always what it could have been. And the thing that really pisses me off the most is I know they're doing this because of the money, because they want to keep it as efficient. They want to have record profit after profit. They want to be, even though they're already profitable, they want to be more profitable. They don't manage the funds properly. They're playing a shell game. They're very with the developers. But if they had gone the other way, it would have been more successful, because it would have been a better product in general. It wouldn't have been this kind of lobotomized version of what it could have been. It's this toned down version, or it's this incomplete version because the vision was so strict that there was no breathing space. You know, if they had done it that way, like these small indie developers do, where they take the time that's needed to create the game and they create a good game, that's what keeps people coming back. Because if you release this type of content freely,
like this is
the player
one of the
retention would
scenarios
be,
where I like to think of Hello Games.
yeah.
If you look
Oh
at
yeah, they pulled it back.
yeah, fucking No Man's Sky, the absolute disaster at launch, similar to Battlefront 2. They what they done, what Sean Murray done was he went to everyone's computer and any hate mail he sent it to his computer.
Yeah,
So
he just took it.
no one received anything, and he went radio silent on everything. He's like, just develop these things, we'll send it out. I feel like that's
Yeah,
something what should have happened with DICE. Someone really
just
should have
trust the
took
developer a
control
little bit more.
until Dennis Bramville came in with that iconic speech. I think it was at Games Awards or maybe E3, where it was we're going deep into the Clone Wars and revealed the Grievous picture behind him.
Yeah,
It felt like
so
that's when
much.
Clone Wars started getting good, and it done nothing but get better every single update. and then all of a sudden, yeah, we're done with this game. And the fact that
Yeah.
it feels like they were very made to be like, our revision with Battlefront 2 is complete. It's obviously fucking not. You guys want to do so much more. We want so much more. We deserve so much more after the fucking shitty launch we had. So yeah, I feel like EA really, really fucked them. It's like all I can
Fuck them
say
in
about it.
general.
Co-op, the beloved game mode between us, the fantastic game mode, came from prototyping Supremacy. What they done was the
Right.
prototype Supremacy. They are very similar game modes. The command posts, they done it with 4 players and 100 bots. The devs enjoyed playing that so much, and they played it a lot. Like a lot. He definitely emphasised how much they played it. That they made it into a different mode from Supremacy, which I am happy with because it's fucking
That's
great.
like, yo, this is something special. We really need to
Yeah, pretty much.
just keep this.
Accidentally cooked one of the fucking greatest modes. And because
Yeah.
it was so great and how much they loved it, I think it was Matt that said if Battlefront 3 was to happen, they wanted devs, or the devs wanted dual modes, even against AI, and they were excited to build new AI, and they wanted co-op to be the foundation of Battlefront 3. That would be your
Right.
fucking flagship game
Bread and
mode.
butter.
And reading that, it gave me so much hope for nothing we're ever going to get.
That seems to be a reoccurring theme, is especially with this EP. It's like usually when you see games that
You
flop
keep
like
saying EP.
Concord,
Do you mean IP?
IP. I'm saying EP. Yeah,
You
fuck.
are saying EP. I wondered it
IP.
before, and I'm
It's
like,
not music.
what does he mean?
IP. Intellectual property. Is EP for? Fuck, who knows? Who knows?
EP is music, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, whatever. Mm, but Concord was dead on arrival because it didn't really have anything to. Like, didn't really have much potential. Unfortunately, it
No,
was
it
kind
did
of
not.
just. It just kind of. And
Felt
it
made
was
to
like, oh,
fail.
yeah, essentially, and a lot of money got pumped into it, and that's the issue. Where it's very clear that it's kind of tone deaf what these massive game developers are being made to do with these publishers or what they've been asked for, or you know, with Star Wars, it's obviously amplified a lot because there is so much potential. There is so many things that you can do with it. And time again, the theme is there's almost so much hope and so much potential, kind of like Star Wars. But in this one, the fucking Empire wins again. Like every time
Empire Strikes Back on repeat.
there's a decent, good idea, it's, oh no, but our idea is better. And they justify it with metrics or whatever, like however they do it. Like I can understand the restraints that they have that they had to go around. I don't imagine it was easy
Oh no, I
with
can't imagine it was easy in the slightest.
Lucasfilm and all these restrictions about making sure you're not spoiling anything or using stuff from the movies and assets from the movies, and you don't want to leak stuff too early, or you need to get permission from Lucasfilms because it's like a big family or some shit. Like the way they treat it, like it's some sort of estate, you know?
Like, it makes me
It's
think, like, imagine you've made a game mode you're so proud of. You've made Order 66 game mode for generic Jedi. You go EA, it's like, this is game mode we want to make next. And they're like, nah, we want Hero Showdown. I know what I prefer
yeah,
of the two. I like Heroes versus Villains, especially when you get into the dueling lobbies. It's fucking great. You could spend hours in the one round, like in the one game, just with people taking their time, especially in the old way that Battlefront was built, or Heroes versus Villain was built, where it was you had to hunt the one particular hero. You had
yeah.
like 35 points, and like everyone else could duel and you wouldn't lose any points. Whereas with the newer builds, which I do prefer, like if any hero dies, you lose a point. Any villain dies, they lose a point. Like I still like Hero Showdown, don't get me wrong, but I would much prefer an Order 66 game mode, especially with how, like, it's not really even in depth, but with how much is mentioned in such a short paragraph.
Hmm.
Especially this a Mando battle royale, a 50v or 50 free for all, one big monster in the map somewhere.
That I love that kind of concept.
Even if it
That
was
I
like a
feel like that
player,
game would have really popped off.
yeah, even a player playing as a Rancor, or like imagine you're in Felicia and you've got an Ackley or two running around. Fuck.
I just love the concept of players coming together to try and see if they can beat this giant thing.
It's like we were talking about earlier with Sea of Thieves in the Megalodon.
Yeah, all the players just kind of work together naturally.
Yeah. So split screen is a very iffy subject on Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's there, but
Uh,
it's not
is
there.
it? Yeah,
The reason it's not really for
stayed
the
in
online
spirit.
modes is because it's a render nightmare and it was one of the hardest problems that they came across. So they pulled it.
Oh, damn.
Which makes me think back to the lovely times where, you know, the Xbox One is so powerful that it couldn't handle split screen Halo 5.
It was so powerful.
It was that powerful, it was too powerful. Like, fuck off. If you're gonna lie us, make up a good fucking lie.
Duke! Unlimited power!
The whole
Maybe that's what...
reason for the Celebration Edition was to wipe the loot box stigma off the face of Battlefront 2.
Lol.
Because the loot box, in reality, was only there maybe 4 months, 5 months. The game has
Wasn't
been
there long.
out since 2017 and is still known as that game with the loot boxes. So that's the reason
Surprise
they made the
mechanics.
Celebration Edition. To try and get
Yeah,
people
actually.
out that mindset. I don't think it worked. It was definitely a nice feature. I like the idea that people that missed out in all the years of Battlefront can go and just get the Celebration Edition and catch up effectively in all the skins and that they've missed out on. The max level in Battlefront 2 was upped from 40 to 1000. The system they used was only built to handle 3 characters, for example, ABC or 1, 2, 3.
Right.
So Matt had asked if the system could handle letters, and he was told yes. So he came up with the word max, as in max level. And it worked. So they changed it to that. So instead of being level 1000, you get to 999 and you get to max.
That's annoying. Because you could like let people go beyond.
Oh, they could definitely make it capless, endless.
You see like Sweaty's absolutely getting in crazy levels.
Level fucking 9 million mall. They would just leave the game. Like, that's not
They'd be
happening.
like, fuck yeah, no, I'm not doing that.
I mentioned this to you earlier, but Matt admitted that they should have had a different live action plan from the get go. And I had said to you that, to me, the whole way that they released Battlefront, they could have done the same thing but different, where all the base heroes were free to play. Any DLC heroes, you could pay for them or you could grind for them. Not pay fucking, what did I say earlier? Was it fucking $4,000? What was it? A ridiculous amount of money.
It was like 1,000.
guarantee.
It was 1,000 to get Vader or whatever.
Oh yeah, like 1,100 or something. Yeah, like a ridiculous amount of money for a guarantee on this random element. So it's so stupid. But I thought I would end in a wee lovely note that Matt put that the devs are more than happy that the modders have picked up where we ended, quote quote, which made it feel really good. Imagine if I was a modder and reading that the devs of Battlefront 2 were happy that I had took over. I'd be heartfelt. I'd love that.
It would be good. It would be good. It'd be very wholesome if they just like spread your wings and like go for it.
Yeah, pretty much. To me, that's almost like a green light. Go for it. Do what you like.
Yeah. At the end of the day, what I've pulled from this in general is, like the Force, there is an ebb and flow. There's an ebb of hope, potential, and dedicated development, and then there's the ebb of deadlines being pushed upon them, regulations and rules, and these odd caveats that they can't avoid, content being pulled out, the right hand not talking to the left, over and over again, and slowly the team gets chipped away, and it keeps fucking happening, because it's not like Star Wars Battlefront is definitely not the only game that this has happened from, or suffered from, I should say. No. But it's clearly the one that was like the dementia. It's like once you see it, it's like it's kind of uncurable. And when you see a game developer or a publisher that's that big do these things, it is almost impossible to change their mind or to get them to do it the other way,
Yeah,
because for
they've
them it's
made
too
up
much
their
of a
mind.
risk. They've made up their mind, it's too much of a risk.
You
So you
accept
see
what you're given
these,
type shit.
yeah, and you see over and over again these game developers that make these really fucking awesome games, and then they're bought out by these giant companies, and then it morphs into something completely different, and you don't really see anything from that game company in a while because this plan gets rejected or this plan gets rejected, or it's not the right time for it, or the sales or the algorithm, like it's not the perfect time, and they'll release a game like Titanfall between two games, like completely knowing that it's that game is going to suffer for it, but it's the only slot they were given.
Yeah.
That's like they don't seem to learn, and the only way that get the Star Wars games in the future have hope is things like Respawn, but we can still see it happening with Respawn because there was like 100 employees that were let go, or forced to fired essentially, like made redundant or whatever, and that hurts their development, which in turn hurts the publishers because they just want to see profits, and when they don't see profits, they're like your game, like they're abusing a dog essentially. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And the more they abuse it, the worse it's going to get. I think when we see games like Jedi Survivor, or the Jedi series, I should say, where it's they've been clearly given a lot of freedom to make a game that they're passionate about. There are some things that are restricted on them, but they did look like, I don't know, like it's because Battlefront is such a time studied, time honored game, like it's a classic, and it was so big when in the scale of what was possible in consoles. You had these giant fucking battles in Star Wars, which was the thing, but it also wasn't the thing as well, because it was still kind of a niche, which was weird. It only kind of popped off later on, but it still popped off. And then you get a modern version of it. It's like we're doing it again, and that expectation of what the game was is kind of fulfilled with the giant game modes, and it gets you into it, and you're like, this is fantastic. Just to see it kind of decline from no fault of what, like, they can produce, they will produce, they will deliver. They very clearly fucking can, and they're wanting to deliver what we want, but they don't get to do that. We don't get it, and because of that, we never will. It's like a vicious fucking loop. I don't know.
That would do for the depressing stream that we also needed.
Star Wars is dead, and we know who killed it.
Star Wars gaming is dead. Toodaloos, Twitcherinos.
See you later, guys. You're welcome for the depression.